Bengals fans, what's going on? Stone Shields on hand once again for another edition of Bengals Breakdown. Thank you so much for joining us. Plenty to discuss on today's video, and it starts with Xavien Howard. A pretty major media outlet suggested the Bengals potentially sign free agent Xavien Howard before Bengals training camp, so we'll dive into that. Quarterback Joe Burrow made an appearance on Pardon My Take, the well-known podcast with Big Cat and PFT, so we'll dive into all his comments on that particular podcast. And also, there is a player Bengals fans must watch and must learn about if they have not done so already, and we'll get to that a little bit later in the video. But before we get going, make sure you like today's show. We're going to have plenty of training camp coverage coming up over the next couple of weeks once that gets underway towards the end of July. And if you want that training camp coverage, if you want those training camp videos, do us a favor, help us out, and like today's show so we can keep making daily Bengals videos. So Pro Football Network suggested the Bengals sign Xavien Howard. They listed one free agent signing each team should make and link Xavien Howard to Cincinnati. And we'll get into my thoughts here in a second, but first let's take a look at what exactly Pro Football Network said. They said, the four-time Pro Bowler Xavien Howard remains one of the best free agents available. However, a 17-page lawsuit on June 7th is hovering above him, in which he is alleged to have shared illicit photos and videos involving a woman without their consent to a minor. CB needy teams like the Bengals should still take a swing at Howard, especially given their history of working with players who have dealt with off-the-field issues. Since he still needs help outside of rising star Cam Taylor-Britt, Howard, despite his age, 30, still surrendered just one touchdown to his side in 13 games last season. Now, taking a look at just the football side of things, right? I remember a point where Xavien Howard was one of the best cornerbacks in the National Football League. And his play the past couple of years hasn't necessarily lived up to that. But like they said in the quote, he's still very much a viable football player. Was riddled with some injuries last year, so that certainly hurt him out there. Wasn't on the field quite as much. And I could see why it could potentially, a relationship with Cincinnati could potentially be intriguing because he does have a working relationship with Lou Anarumo, the defensive coordinator of the Bengals, who, of course, spent some time in Miami and, was part of the group that, helped bring Xavien Howard into the league and really, got him to be one of the best cornerbacks in the game. So I certainly see where it could be attractive, but, I'll fully sound off on my thoughts about that here in just one moment. But real quickly, it's your chance to get interactive in the comments section with the pinned comment of today's video. Do you think the Bengals should sign Xavien Howard? Type S if you think they should, or type P if you think they should pass. Once again, that is the pinned comment on today's video. That ad comes here on YouTube. That's fine. Take advantage of it and go down in the comments section and give us your thoughts. All right, my stance on this still hasn't changed. If you remember, we kind of discussed this a couple of weeks ago on the show about potentially bringing in Xavien Howard, and I still don't think it's a good idea. All right, he's not really the type of guy you would want to add to your locker room, especially with kind of the off-the-field stuff going on right now. And, I certainly could see how it could be attractive to bring in a veteran guy, but this seems a little toxic given what he's dealing with off the field. I don't want to, completely knock him. We still haven't gotten any type of ruling on that, but right now it just seems unnecessary. And you don't need to force anything here if you're Cincinnati, right? Clearly, you haven't made a move to this point, so you don't think it's a emergency to essentially make this move. You haven't brought anyone else in at that cornerback position, and you only drafted one corner in Josh Newton, so you don't really feel like you need to do this. So I don't think you need to force the issue and try to bring in a guy who hasn't been around the team and just kind of plop him onto the team for training camp. And I just don't need creepy, right? It kind of some Deshaun Watson vibes to it. Like, it's just maybe he ends up, not getting in trouble and it's fine, but it's just creepy. It's weird stuff. It's not something that you want to just invite into your locker room. It's one thing if he was already on the team and you're working through this situation with him, but to me it would just be pointless to bring him in, especially with all this going on. And, he's not the player he once was, so I don't think he certainly would, add too much to the roster just from a football standpoint either. All right, so Joe Burrow was on the Pardon My Take podcast, and a couple of takeaways from that. Number one, he said he added roughly 15 pounds of muscle, and I think this is certainly, a good thing, right? Whatever has been going on in the past hasn't been working to an extent in terms of his health, add some weight. He says he's a lot bigger and stronger. Do I have questions about, if he's still, as elusive in the pocket or can still run as well? Maybe, but I think overall this is a good sign that he's added some weight. And he also said that he believes people have forgotten about him. And, I certainly think this is the case, right? I mean, at one point, it seemed like pretty much a lot of people around the league were, pretty convinced that he was a top 2-3 quarterback in the league. And now all of a sudden, he isn't even getting that recognition within his own conference. People are talking about, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, even C.J. Stroud. And more on that in a moment. But here's what Burrow said exactly on the Pardon My Take podcast. He said, if you're not out there and people aren't watching you, then there's nothing to talk about. I'm going to give people something to talk about this year, and I'm excited about it. And like I said, I mean, like C.J. Stroud, he had an incredible year last year, but then people are seemingly putting him, an echelon above Joe Burrow. It really doesn't make sense. But to Burrow's point, he wasn't out there. And, there's really nothing to go off of in terms of the back half of last year. There's not tape out there because he was on the bench and he wasn't playing. So that's certainly going to be something that fuels Burrow throughout the year. And I think, it won't be long before people realize, oh, Joe Burrow is back and he's still one of the best players in the league. Another interesting tidbit from the Pardon My Take podcast was he doubled down on playing in the Olympics, which I think is really cool, number one. The Olympics, of course, flag football will be coming to the Olympics in 2028, so not here in a couple of weeks, but the following Summer Olympics. And flag football in the Olympics excites me. It really does. I mean, like I said, it's coming in 2028. There'll be 12-player rosters, and it'll be 5-on-5. I don't really fully know all the rules. I think that'll get hashed out later. But it certainly got me thinking about a potential Team USA that could involve Joe Burrow. So here's what I put together here. Like I said, there'll be 5 guys on the field at once, and this is a potential Team USA offense. Yet Burrow at the quarterback position, his buddy Jamar Chase as a wide receiver, his other buddy, Justin Jefferson as a wide receiver, Sam Laporta at tight end, and Christian McCaffrey at running back. Keep in mind, this is 2028, so that's why you're not seeing a Travis Kelce perhaps at that tight end spot, but I think Laporta had an outstanding rookie season with Detroit, and he's going to be one of the best tight ends in the league going forward. McCaffrey at that point might be a little bit old. Thought about putting, Isaiah Pacheco or Bijan Robinson in that role, but that's kind of what you're looking at for a potential Team USA offense. Now, it'll be interesting to see if, how many people exactly want to do it, if they'll let even NFL players play. So that's certainly in the future, but with the Olympics coming up in a couple weeks, I thought it would be fun to kind of touch on that and kind of, I guess, fantasize, if you will, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase potentially being on a Team USA roster. But once again, I want to know what you think. Do you want to see Joe Burrow in the Olympics? I know what some people are going to say, oh, he's just going to get hurt, whatever. It's flag football. I think he'd be all right, but I certainly would love to see him out there in the red, white, and blue. But let us know what you think. Type Y for yes or type N for no in the comment section. And real quickly, we want to give a shout out to our friends over at Fanatics. Amarius Mims rookie jerseys are available now. If you haven't gotten yours yet, what are you doing? Hop down there and get you some. Get you one, rather. That'll be in the description and the comments of today's show. That link right there, chatsports.com/Amarius Mims. Show your support for the Bengals first-round rookie and go get his jersey, courtesy of our friends over at Fanatics. So at the beginning, I kind of teased a little bit of player that fans need to know, and it is 5th-round draft pick Josh Newton. Now, there's several reasons why I think Bengals fans need to know a lot about this guy. Number one, we've talked about that position, and that position kind of lacks depth. They haven't brought in a veteran yet, and I don't expect them to at this point. And the only resource they allocated to that spot is a 5th-round pick in Josh Newton. And I think really it was a steal to be able to get Josh Newton. When I think about the Bengals draft, I think Amarius Mims was certainly a steal in the first round. And in the last round, I think Matt Lee was a steal. And that third steal for me is Josh Newton. Look, he would have got picked a lot higher if he would have left after 2022 when TCU went to the national title game. But instead, he came back, played the 2023 season, and hurt his draft stock a little bit. But you can't knock him too much. For deciding to come back to school. And like I said, the Bengals are weak at cornerback, and taking a look at their depth chart here, we still have DJ Turner slotted in at that CB2 spot. rumors out there, reports out there that Dax Hill might take that spot over. But either way, I think he's got a very clear-cut path to the roster when he's competing with guys like Allen George and Lance Robinson to make the team. And who knows, if Dax Hill or DJ Turner aren't playing up to snuff, he might have to, be forced into duty as a potential starter as a fifth-round pick. So I got a lot of high hopes for Josh Newton, and I think Bengals fans really need to dive in to what all he's about and make sure they're paying attention to him at Bengals training camp in a couple of weeks. And as always, make sure you subscribe to our channel here at Bengals Breakdown if you have not already. We've got coverage for you all off season long, all training camp long. And, of course, the fun stuff will start once the preseason hits, and then we'll just be hitting the ground running from that point. So make sure you hit that sub button. That is youtube.com/BengalsTV.